We are live. We are live. Welcome back to Talk Talk Live, ladies and gentlemen. We are live on IG and YouTube. We are back live for 2025. Happy New Year to you all. Yes, we have returned, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for all of your comments. Thank you very much for all of your queries into the story of Talk Talk Live and all your well wishes and all of your likes and all your subscriptions. They are up. The views are up, and we're going to continue that in 2025. As you know, very, very busy holiday schedule, but we are back and we are live here at Talk Talk Live. So thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much to welcoming the year with me. Like and subscribe, and we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers as per usual. Sponsored by Duntalk, DUNTLK.com. Full bunch of line out now, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, we're continuing things into 2025. Hope everybody's well. Hope you all had a great holiday season. Hope your Christmas was fantastic. Hope you had a great New Year's as well. As we get back into the work world, as we get back into a new year, we're in the middle of we're in the middle of the 20s decade. Can you believe that? We're into 2025, ladies and gentlemen. Further inching to 2030. You know what happens in 2030, ladies and gentlemen. But thank you very much for joining me here on Talk Talk Live. Live on IG and YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So let's get into it right away because this is going to be a long one. You are owed this. And there are a few subjects out there, so we're going to have a show today. We're going to have a show tomorrow. And tomorrow we're going to talk about the whole scandal at Fox Sports and what's going on there with Joy Taylor and et al. And how things are Emmanuel Acho et al. And Skip Bayless. And all these guys there at Fox Sports and the workplace scandal that's going on there, and the lawsuit that's lodged on Skip Bayless, in which Joy Taylor is indeed a co-defendant, ladies and gentlemen. So again, thank you very much for joining me at Talk Talk Live here. So that's what's going on tomorrow. But tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to keep this close to home. Well, relatively close to home, to be fair, because we're talking about a lady who has indeed. Is not immune from these streets. Is from these streets in the six, in the T dot, in the smoke, the big smoke, and in the Screwface capital. And that her name is Melissa Ford. Now Melissa Ford, now she's living in the States right now. She's on the Joe Budden podcast, but she has been a video vixen. She has been a BET spokesperson, on air personality. And yeah, she has endured a ride for many, many years, at least 20 years of her career, dating back all the way to the late 90s, early noughties, in which she was discovered in the New York streets, but basically in the streets of TO. To be fair, let me aim this down a little bit. There we go, and move this out a little there. There we go, perfect like that. Perfect. So yes, so she was discovered in these six streets, and she went down to make a life for herself, and she made a relatively good career as a TV on-air personality. Now she is as I said, a co-host on Joe Budden podcast, but she was recently on her own channel. I think that will be exclaimed here. The life and times of Melissa Ford, and let me see. Let me just get her. Let me get her channel. Let's go into the split screen here. Let's get into what she was involved with here. Yes, indeed. Hold on just a second. She was in. I'll tell you. Hot and Bothered. That's it. Hot and Bothered with Melissa Ford. There you go. Hot and Bothered with Melissa Ford. Yes, that was her channel. And she was recently self-confessing to her years as an on-air personality and what has led her to the point of being a cat lady. Yes, indeed. She is a self-confessed cat lady because she had followed the Modern Women Playbook. So we wanted to use this as more of an advisory tool going into 2025 of what modern womanhood will bring you if you do not heed the warnings and the signs of one's misgivings. So yes, we are here on Talk Talk Live, so thank you very much for joining me. We're going to get into this right away. Right away. And, yeah. We're going to have the one and only... we're going to have two people speak on this. Later on, we're going to have Mediocre Tutorial Reviews. Shout out to him. Doing wonderful things in YouTube streets. And, yes, indeed. Let me see. Final word. Let me see here. All right, there's a final word. Okay, so there's another... another hour and 33 minutes on this, and but we're gonna go with this what we have right now, because I think this gives basically the full potential as to what is going on with Melissa Ford as of now. Is that today? That was the date today. What is going on in Melissa Ford's life and her relationships, and how she says she has no regrets, but indeed everybody knows that is indeed cap, because when it comes down to it, there'll come a day when family will not surround her. All that she'll have are cats, literally, and well, a nurse who really doesn't give a shit to you know to maintain her, if that is indeed possible. So let's get into this. Melissa Ford is a 48-year-old cat lady with no regrets. That is the the video from the Crimson Cure. Shout out to the Crimson Cure, doing wonderful things in the YouTube streets, ladies and gentlemen. She has been fantastic here, and I use her as my jump off point, as my body detail of the life of Melissa Ford, because again, Melissa Ford will tell you one thing, but you need the womanese in these instances, and Crimson Cure is the one to give it. So shout out to the Crimson Cure. But let's get into it. Thank you very much for joining me. Talk live on IG, YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment on the road to 2,000 subscribers. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, and thank you to the Crimson Cure for this video. Let me just round this out as we get into it.
So this sounds awful. But anyways, I know that I'm not the only one that felt that their life choices were put under attack. So this episode is called I Am 48, I Am Child Free, and I've never been married. And guess what? That's okay. I never made it down the aisle, but I have been engaged in the past.
As she had to sip some wine behind that wine. It's okay, but you're on the internet. And I'm going to start talking as if these women can hear me, because the internet actually becomes a small place. Who knows? She might see this. Miss Ford, I know coke when I see it, Bookie. You stated it, and then you had to take a sip of wine to swallow that cap.
Excellent debut from the Crimson Cure. She comes out swinging, and Lord knows, that's why I have her here, because she is a woman herself. She knows when a woman is lying, when a woman is telling the truth, and when a woman is indeed giving us cap. And that is pure cap, because Lord knows she made some decisions in her life that she doesn't regret, and in this video she will reveal instances of which she does regret, quite simply. She says no regrets here, but we all know that's cap, ladies and gentlemen. Let's continue.
How many engagements? I would say 2.5. Let's start with the 0.5, since that was the first one.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, let me break into this one. Black women especially will always talk about their engagements, that they are once married, that they are once betrothed to be a wife. And quite simply, it's to cope for the fact that they had made mistakes in their lives, leading them to be single and childless, or single and alone, or single with child. No matter. So they'll always refer to the fact that they were once in love, that they had previous engagements with men. She talks about the 2.5 engagements, and quite simply, it's to cover up for the fact that she was passed on by men, and now she's alone, and she's a cat lady, a self-confessed cat lady, and she has no regrets about it. Lord knows she does, because one day she'll be alone with as I said, a nurse wiping her behind, if she can so afford it, and and no one to be around her. Basically, no one to no family to be surrounded by her. She will be alone. She will be the cat lady. Will hopefully, as my girlfriend has already confessed to it, may eat her face if she dies on her own. Yes, feet. Oh, feet first, as my girlfriend would say. Shout out to Lana. Face first. Oh, it's face first. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, it's face first. It's face first. They always go for the first face first. Let's continue.
I was involved with a man who loved me. He was good looking, he was tall, he was charismatic, gregarious. Everybody loved him. My mom loved him, my sister loved him, my niece loved him, my friends loved him. Everybody loved him. But there was something inside of me that just said, this is not perfect. It's the furthest thing from perfect.
Did y'all hear that? We not even 5 minutes in here. She said he was all the stuff that women claim they want. This is how hyenas get to places like where she is. This is how they get there. He had all these qualities, and she, to this day, can speak on that past situation and say that that man loves her. And her family approved of this man. All of them got along. And she didn't say something in me said it wasn't right. She said something in me said it wasn't perfect. Perfect? Perfect? Now you're gonna hear what was really the problem. She gonna
Do remember when she says she wasn't perfect, that means that he wasn't so perfect as to commit to this man. So therefore, she's just referring to the fact that she wanted her whole face. She wanted her whole face. She wanted to get out there. She wanted to show herself to the world before she settled down. Even though this man was everything she needed or wanted, the fact of the matter is she wanted her whole face. She was dying for her whole face, so she wanted to get out there. So that is usually the case. So you would think that this is a person in her mid to late 20s. Or Melissa was in her mid to late 20s at this time. Shout out to Steve Tees and King Olin. Thank you very much for joining me on Talk Live. So again, that is the point we are at right now. She wants her whole face. Let's continue.
Don't say it now.
He would say things like, nobody's ever going to love you the way that I love you. And I believed him. I wrestled with this internal sense of guilt. I wrestled with the guilt of honestly wanting to be free, honestly wanting to live my life and to date and to experience other men and to experience other things and other.
Didn't I say that? Did I not say that? She wanted her time to experience other men and other things, aka the whole face. Let's continue.
Places. I just wanted to live my life. I had moved to New York from.
You heard it? I wanted to be for the streets. I'm going to translate that. And she may not, if she ever hear it, she not going to like the translation, but I'm going to translate it.
Yeah.
Not only did she say, I wanted to be for the streets, she also said, without saying it, I wasn't good enough for that dude. He was actually too good for me. And I knew I wasn't going to be no good to him. I wasn't going to be no good to him. She tried to take him saying, nobody going to love you the way I love you as some type of manipulative tactic to say that. He probably was saying it out of the fact of how much he actually loved her. And saying, there's no way another man can come along and love you more than me because of how much I loved you.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. See, the one thing about And thank you very much for the Crimson Cure for that. Because the one thing about a modern woman, especially the modern woman who wants to be in her whole face, she will turn everything that may be seen as positive, that may be seen as endearing, that may be seen as uh, an olive branch, a love letter to someone, as being manipulative, as being controlling, as being toxic, as being aggressive, and to a point where she'll see it as she'll turn a positive into a negative. And with that negative, it gives her license to be free. So she'll turn around so that she has a license to go out there. So she'll take something like "no one's gonna love you like I love you" into something like, "oh, well, that means that you want to control me. You want to dictate what I do in life. So therefore, yeah, I need to get away from you." Anything, any reason for the modern woman in her whole face to get out of that relationship because she wants to experience life. She wants to be gone. But again, there is a twist to this. And you have to listen in because this is where she somewhat does the guy dirty. And you'll find out in a bit. Let's continue.
So she upped and left this man.
A Canadian man, Liz, from the six. Remember, I guarantee you she's from the six. But she knew what her body was worth, what her beauty would get her, what her looks would get her, and she wanted out of here. She saw what was happening in the States, and she wanted out of here to engage in her whole phase. Let that be clear. She had a good man here. She was about to be settled down, but she didn't want that. She didn't want it. Let's continue.
Because she wanted to play.
Yeah.
And a part of her wanted to prove him wrong. Oh, you think I can't get another man that love me or do for me or be with me or want to be with me as much as you or more than you? I'm Melissa Ford. Do you see me? Do you see how bad I am? All this that you love, another man will jump at the chance. But jump at the chance to do what?
Toronto, a totally different country, with $25, 2 suitcases, and a one-way ticket. I didn't have permission from my country to leave. And to experience other men and to experience other things and other places. I just wanted to live my life. I had moved to New York from Toronto, a totally different country, with $25, 2 suitcases, and a one-way ticket. I didn't have permission from my country to leave. I didn't have permission from this country to be here. And I was making things happen for myself at a very, very rapid pace.
You hear that? If that's not chaos, I don't know what is. You packed up, you left. You wanted to be for the streets. You didn't have two nickels to rub together. And you went all the way to another country somewhere, talking about something, I didn't have permission to leave and I didn't get permission to be there. So you didn't have a passport. You just was flying by the seat of your chaotic pants. Went somewhere to just be.
Mm-hmm.
No plan, just in the wind. Just whatever man will take you, or just whatever you can find. Or you understand? You understand that? Lionesses do not operate in this manner. Because, see, we don't like seat of your pants. I would never just up and go to another country with just a couple of dollars in my pocket and no plan. Where they do that at? Apparently, they do it in the boneyard.
Oh, but let me interject there, Crimson Cure. She had a plan. You know what her plan was? To use her looks to her advantage. She knew there is an industry that would take her looks in and for which she could exchange for monetary gain and fame. And that was the music industry. She saw videos and she saw the advent of the video vixen. And so she wanted to be a part of it. So she said, you know what? I don't need a lot of money, What I can do is I can try and I can try and get a part-time job, get into to the music industry, and from there make a name for myself. That was her plan. She knew her looks would pay her. She knew that, she wanted her whole face, and she can get both in one by being a video vixen. We have a question from Lana BK here saying, isn't that the definition of pretty privilege? Absolutely the definition of pretty privilege. She wanted to use her privilege to her advantage. Yes, yes. She knew that she didn't have to... It'll come out later in the show, but she didn't have to work hard for her looks, so therefore she could go to the States without a plan, knowing her looks would get her through. See, that's the one thing, the difference between men and women, is that men can't go anywhere without a plan. Women can. Why? Because a man with a plan can take her in. Let me say that again. A man without a plan is not a man. That is Nietzsche. A man without a plan is not a man. That's Nietzsche. However, for a woman, that is not the case. She can go without a plan because she knows that people will take her in, more likely men of certain influence, of certain status, of certain industry, and make her a video vixen. That was her plan. Work part-time, get into the industry, and from there, use, as Lana said, her pretty privilege in order to get where she wants to go. Let's continue.
And the reason why a lioness would not operate in that way is because if you're gonna operate in that way, you gotta be willing to do some unsavory stuff to get that roof over your head and to get, because when women don't like homelessness, we don't, you see what I'm saying?
A very good reference there from Crimson Cure, and so that's what a woman will have to do to get where she wants to go. She'll have to do something unsavory, and she was willing to do it because she was in her whole phase. You see, it all aligns. It all aligns. Hello, Golden Tite. How's everybody doing out there? Happy New Year to you. So she had her plan. Her plan was to get on her back, get on her side, get on whatever eggplant was rolling of certain influence to get on that screen and make herself influential. Golden Tide says, we can smell the Irish Spring from here. You know what? Well, I did have a shower today, I'll do say. I don't know if it's Irish Spring. Was it Irish Spring? I do have Irish Spring. Have you been on my... Okay, we're going to have to watch out for you. I have to check the film. I have to do that to check the film. But anyways, let's get into this. Let's continue.
So you got to compromise yourself. You got to be with men you don't really like, but they stable. So you over here, but you planning your exit because this is just a temporary thing. And you understand?
Just to interject, do remember, during this time, during the 90s, a lot of ladies from Canada, from around the world, from the States, from around the world, they went into such music meccas as New York, as Atlanta, as Los Angeles, in order to make themselves known as video vixens in the music industry. So this was widely known. You have a Melissa Ford doing this. You had a Kareen Steffens doing this. You had... a bunch of ladies. If you look at King Magazine, they were literally showing all video vixens, and at the forefront was a Melissa Ford. And again, this was a well-known thing for women to take themselves, beautiful women take themselves. This is before the age of Instagram. Remember, before the age of Instagram, they used to take themselves to certain musical ports in order to extol their virtues, quite simply. You go to Atlanta, you go to New York, you go to LA in order to establish yourself as a video vixen. That's what you used to do back in the day, before the age of Instagram. Let's continue.
A lioness would not move so hastily unless it was emergency and we absolutely had to leave wherever we were. But we would be like, you see what I'm saying? Because there's certain stuff we not going to do.
That Melissa was willing to do. Remember.
And so to find myself inside of a relationship that felt so stifling at this very young age and not having the vocabulary to speak up for myself and articulate that somebody who loves you would not say those things to you. They wouldn't say that nobody will ever love you the way that I love you.
Again, she saw it as controlling rather than endearing. Remember, any reason to leave that relationship with Mr. Wholesome Man from the 6. Remember that. Anything to get out of there, she's going to use to her advantage. Let's continue.
Because
Shout out to
that
Eyewitness.
indicates that there's a part of me that's broken or there's a part of me that's unlovable. But I didn't know how to articulate this. So I stayed in this relationship that I was wildly unhappy in for approximately 3.5 years.
Listen up to what's happened
Close
now.
to 4. Close.
So, Miss Ma'am, you wasted 4 years of this man's life and your time too. 4 years of his time and your time. You know you didn't like that man. It don't take you that long to figure out you don't like. You knew you didn't like that man. You knew you did not want that man. As soon as the relationship started going into a serious, more long-term type of situation, you knew you was for the streets and you wanted to be for the streets. And there's no way you was trying to, quote unquote, settle down at this young age because you trying to have your fun because you young. And this dude is cramping your style because he's trying to do what? Bring order. And he had all of these other qualities that you actually like, but you wasn't ready to settle down. Not
really. Remember, it's through feminism that we have this idea that women shouldn't settle down too early. The advent of birth control, the advent of free love, the advent of sexual exploration, that we have this whole face, so this indeterminate amount of time to find yourself, which is really just you know getting a lot of D's in. That's what a whole face is. So we've given it a name. This is the modern day name. The modern day name is the whole face, but women will call it sexual exploration or finding themselves, which is absolute poppycock, because Lord knows you can find yourself in a meaning, loving relationship where you're a matriarch of a family, but they didn't want that. That's not what Melissa wanted. That's why she's still a cat lady to this day. Let's continue.
realizing that you was at your peak value at that time.
Close to 4. And I have to admit, I was not faithful in this relationship. Nothing that I'm proud of, but I just chalk that up to I was really, really young and I was hood famous. You know, I was on the covers of magazines, on your local newsstand. So everybody recognized me. And that was another source of pressure that I felt being inside of this relationship rather than being free to explore all of my options.
She deemed herself to be a man. She said to herself that, I am the it girl. I have all these men clamoring over me. I have, all these D's around. And all of their charms and baubles that are attached to these. And I want to explore these options. I want to get out there. I don't want to be a good girl. I want to be a bad girl now. Remember, she's a video vixen. They give that name for a reason, people. She's a bad girl. She's bad. She's a bad girl. So she wanted out of there. She did not want the safe life that her family wanted for her. No, she said she wanted out. And she wanted to be free to do as she pleased. And such is the conduit of feminism in and of itself. Lana has a question here. Do you say men have always would you say men have always have their sowing wild oats phases as well? How is that any different? The difference is Lana, thank you very much for the question. Is that in order for men to have this sowing wild oats phase, they have to earn it. You have to earn it in some way, shape, or form. Now, again, you can indeed get by on your looks for a certain while, but sooner or later, it's going to cost you. And you'll have to be the man to be able to pay said cost. See, as Myra Progression Fizz once said, it says, and it's so very true. Women are trust fund babies. Men are self-made millionaires. And we break it down like this: self-made millionaires have to literally make a name for themselves in order to get a shot at having at sowing their wild oats. Sometimes it carries along with their looks for a certain period. But that doesn't last long because soon you have to learn to earn and be able to provide. You have to be able to protect and provide. If you can't do that, your chance of sowing your wild oats is very short. As for women, they're self-made millionaires, so therefore they're given their largesse at a very early stage, and they are asked not to waste it. And in the modern age, especially as feminism comes along and modern womanhood has come along, women are more and more asked and demanded by not only modern media, but also feminist ideals to go out there, have your fun, have your hoe phase, and then in time come back to find that man that you were looking for. Now again, for women, that usually happens during their college years, especially for more races of women, because those are the days where they can, have their little fun and find their man at the same time. But for Melissa, she didn't go to college. She went to New York to become a video vixen. So therefore, she had an extended period. And she was with this man for 3 or 4 years. So I'm thinking she's in her mid to late 20s when this is happening. That she said, you know what? I want out. I want to see New York. I want to see the sights. I want to have more D's. I want to have more, more vestiges of my beauty, more spoils of my beauty to come to me. So therefore, she decided to cheat. She decided to act like a man and think, oh yeah, you know what? I'll be able to get away with this because I'm Melissa Ford. As she said, she had a bravado about herself. No one could tell her different. No one could tell her anything at that time because she was the it girl on TV screens. She had her 3 pillars at her disposal. Youth, beauty, fertility, all in one. But she was beauty on steroids. And I mean the good stuff. She had beauty on steroids. So guess what? Her ego was out the door into the street where she belongs. I'll let her continue your story.
Just telling on herself. Just see how they tell on herself. Like, I wasn't faithful. And that was supposed to be just, that was okay. Because she was young. Right? I chalked that up to I was young. You chalk it up to you was young? Listen, let me tell you something.
Before she tells us this, see, the thing is, women have this young and dumb excuse. Especially if they want to explore more D's or if they get pregnant. Especially when they get young. Because remember, 76% of women, of black women who have children, have them between the ages of 16 to 24. 76%. So if they're going to any meeting or relationship, chances are they're going in with a kid. And now you know why they're the least married, most divorced, because no one wants to be a cleanup crew. You get that? But anyways, I digress. this lady here wanted that freedom. She wanted to pursue her happiness, to pursue more D's. So she was allowed to do so. But at what price? The price of a good man being cheated on and left for dead. But you need to listen to what she did in order to lead this man. That is the height of unaccountability. You'll hear in a minute. Let's go.
Listen, let me tell you something. Youth don't have nothing to do with your integrity as a woman. It don't. Youth is not an excuse for you to have lack integrity, morals, values, and character. Youth is not an excuse for that. So during the totality of that relationship, you was cheating on that man. And I guess he wasn't supposed to. I was hood famous. So that meant it was too many eggplants around, and I was gonna suck and bounce on them. And you better believe it. I had that little fatty, I was bad, and I was gonna explore my options. That means I wanted to get ran through with all these dudes, these rappers, and this one and that one, and these dudes got swag and blah 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 blah. So, I'm trying to bounce my way. Listen. Again, this dude cramping my style. He running around here trying to be a husband. He don't realize I'm not a wife. I'm not a wife. I'm not a wife. And the mistake that they make, that hyenas make, is believing that they can somehow transform into a wife. No, you don't. Not so fast. You don't get to hold your way through your 20s and your 30s, and then when you hit your 40s, all of a sudden, you know how to be a wife. No, you don't, because you did not practice that. You practiced whoredom. So that's what you know how to be. Don't come over here to the lioness side and think you not. They kill me wanting what a lioness has worked all her life to get. They kill me with that. All a lioness's whole thing is being a good.
We're gonna skip on to that, ladies and gentlemen, from that. But I'm just gonna speak on that for a second. Yeah. See, what Melissa believed in actuality is that she thought she could act like a man and behave like a man, and one day that when her whole phase is over and she adds enough dick, her Prince Charming will come along and sweep her off her feet, forgive of all of her sins, and allow her to be the wife and mother that she wants to be, if she so chose, because she's Melissa Ford. She is the video vixen. No one can tell her shit. The sun rose when she got up, set when she went to sleep, and her shit don't stink. So she can do whatever a man does, and she can get away with it because she's Melissa Ford. Even cheat on a man. But see, there's a thing called, let me think of that word. Wait for it. Karma. Karma watches everything you do and everything you say. One day, karma will come back to face you. However, let's get through this part of the story here with Melissa in turn, because there's more to this story. There's way, way more to this story, believe me. Let's continue.
I was going through some drawers, folding laundry, placing clothes, in the drawers and such, and I found it. I found a box, and when I saw it, I said, please, God, don't let this be what I think it is. And I opened the box, and there it was. It was a ring, and the only thing that I could think was that it was an engagement ring. It sure as hell was not a promise ring. We were way beyond that. We were not in high school. I was not wearing this boy's varsity jacket. This was an engagement ring. And if I knew this man the way that I knew him, that proposal was going to be very public. And that terrified me. I didn't want to have to say no in front of our friends and family and publicly humiliate him. He did not deserve that, but I also could not see myself saying yes in front of everybody just to save face, and then later on have to break it to him like that this is not something that I was going to be able to go forward with. So what I did instead was I packed up all my belongings while he was out of town and put them in storage and flew back to Canada. And then I had the conversation about us breaking up over the phone. I know what you're probably thinking as well. Yo, Melissa, that's fucked up. I know. It took years for me to make peace with this decision. I have self-flagellated over this decision. I have beaten myself up every way to Sunday that you possibly can. I tried to reconcile with him at one point, which was a big mistake.
Yeah, it was a real big mistake, Bookie. And yes,
So just to fast forward here, people. Melissa has left the man from Canada. She went to the States. She found another man there, and They had a great relationship, but again, and he wanted to marry her. So he wanted to confess on, to propose to her on one knee and do the whole thing in front of family and friends. But she didn't want the marriage. So what did she do? As you heard, she got her things, packed them up. There's 2 good men she's left now. She packed them up, went back to Canada, and called him on the phone to tell him that she wanted out of the relationship. She couldn't confess to the man to his face. She couldn't be accountable as such to do the right thing. She couldn't do the right thing. She had to do the right thing away from him because she did not want the accountability, people. Accountability is kryptonite to the modern woman. Let me say it again, and I've said it here on the show before. Accountability is like kryptonite to the modern woman. R.I.P. Kevin Samuels. She could not sit there and tell the man the truth to his face. She wanted out of there. She wanted to do it in a post-it note. She wanted to do it in a text. She wanted to do it over the phone. Anything to remove herself to a certain degree from true accountability. So she's done 2 men wrong here, ladies and gentlemen. She did the man wrong in Canada by leaving him because he was good, but she wanted more D. And in this one, she got the D. She got the man she truly wanted, but it's not enough because she's Melissa Ford, right? She needs more D. She needs more people fawning over her. She needs more men throwing themselves at her. She wants more D. That D wasn't good enough. She was comparing and contrasting. She was monkey branching. She wanted out of there. So that's what she did. She ran to Canada and denied any wedding proposal. Wanted out of the relationship because she wanted the D. Lana BK says she was 2 stages past wrong for that. Such unnecessary heartache. Yes, well, that's right. I mean, listen, the man had given of himself a year and a half of his life, bought a ring for her. But remember, These men dodged a huge bullet because look where she is now. Look where she is now. Look who you could have been with for 20 to 25 years. If that. I would say 5 to 10. In a loveless relationship where she could have taken half of your resources. She did you a huge solid. Not in the right way, but she did. Let's continue.
Lori Harvey's doing the same thing. She's going to be on a podcast in a few years.
Mm-hmm.
Because you tried to spin the block and quote unquote be friends with this dude. He told you to continue to kick rocks. Bye. Because you were too cowardly to say it to my face that you didn't want me. So what you did was you picked up you tucked your tail. You tucked your tail like a coward. You couldn't face me and say what you needed to say. You couldn't face me and break my heart. You couldn't do it. So you left. You skulked out.
Skulked out.
Like a thief. And you went to a safe haven. And then you called me to have a discussion about breaking up. And then at some point later on, you wanted to spin the block to do what? Talk? Make amends? Tell him you want to be friends? Or, of course, he didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to hear that at all. He didn't want to hear that at all. You want to be gone? Stay gone. We don't need to talk. What do we have to talk about? What do we have to talk about? Talk about what?
Great point raised there by Crimson Cure. Talk about what? If you're a man of certain confidence, intelligence, and assertiveness, and a woman wants to leave you, let her stay gone. Do not let her back in. Because your stance will gain respect from that woman. If you let her back in, guess what? There's a measure that she says, I'm better than you, I can control you and do what I want with you. You are my puppet. If she leaves you in such a disparaging way, let me say this, let her stay gone. I don't care who she is. She was Lady Godiva at this point in her mind. Guess what? Get back in your clam and go back to the ocean from whence you came. You, Lady Godiva, from which no man of certain virtue could stare eyes at you for fear they fall out of their sockets. Take the clam from which you came, the oyster from which is your bed. Go back from the ocean from which you came because you smell like fish. Go back. There's a reason for the fishy smell. I ain't going to go into words for that. There's a reason for the fishy smell. All that glitters is not gold, believe me. There's a reason for the fishy smell. I'll leave you ladies to decide that. Not enough hooker washes to. Anyways, but she wanted to be free. She wanted her extended whole face because she was Melissa Ford. So now let's keep count here. There are one and a half proposals for marriage that she is denied. 1.5. She left her man in Canada because she wanted her whole face, and then she left the man in the States from which she picked up because, well, she was Melissa Ford. Hey, she didn't feel she needed more space and time to exacerbate her whole face, her time on scene, because remember, her shit don't stink. The sun rises when she gets up and sets when she goes to sleep. Let's continue.
He dodged the bullet.
He did.
She tried to put that like she got out of something, because he used to say he the one dodged the bullet.
He did. He did.
Now she gonna go into another tale of a relationship. And no, I seen what somebody said in the chat when nobody wiping her. They was trying to do it. She not lying about that. They was trying to do it. Dudes try to wipe up baddies that want to be in the street all day.
All day.
Every day.
Remember, at this point, she is at 1.5 marriage proposals. Remember, that's how black women keep score with regards to their fitness for marriage. It's in the engagements they have. They're not wives, but they are fit for marriage through their engagements. Not knowing that men designate them fit for marriage, even though, she passed up twice on them. She passed up twice. She was supposed to twice. She passed on both of those proposals, but she said 1.5 times because, remember, she had I'm just trying to do the math here. No, that was the first confession. No, this is the 0.5. This is the 0.5. The full one is coming. The full one is coming. The full one. She's at 0.5 right now. Not the one in Canada. Canada one she wanted on her whole face. She wasn't going to get married to that man. This one here was the 0.5 where she ran out. So we're at a 0.5 proposal count. Right? Because black women at least married, most divorced, so they count their fitness for marriage with the engagements that they've had. Because Lord knows they ain't gonna get married. They ain't gonna go do that. All right, let's continue.
Especially back, like maybe in the 90s and 2000s and all that, whenever these relationships is going on, because she's speaking of them in her youth. So the way she was looking, and then a dude got her, he was trying to lock her down. Yep. She's not lying about that. Trying to love her. Trying to bring order to it. She don't want it.
Mm-mm.
He's stable. They like that part. But they don't like nothing else. You heard what she said. She was getting her cheek clapped by whoever else.
Yep.
That is the 0.5.
There's the 0.5. There you go.
Phase. Don't tell anybody. I destroyed all the pictures, so there's no proof. Before I became a video model and I was like known as the brain amongst all my friends. So I was studying forensic psychology with a minor in English literature in university. So the fact that I started to become known more for my looks than my brain is kind of ironic.
Stop there. Of course, she's bragging on herself. Remember, she's in clinical psychology and an English major. Psychology is a female major. And most women aren't going to go to the nth degree of getting a doctorate to become a psychologist, because that's what you need in order to become a psychologist. She's just doing this to pass time. With an English minor, what, you're doing sonnets? You're memorizing sonnets and want to put that down to paper on a test day? Not exactly the most riveting of major subject matter, to put it bluntly. What do you want, Shakespeare? Shakespeare in the Park? While trying to, manipulate your man into gaslighting? That's the psychology part of things. Not exactly riveting stuff, but again, she wants to flex her brain rather than her body when, Lord knows, she wasn't going to do all that work. Especially when she looks the way she looks. She ain't going to do all that work. Come on now. Lana BK says, reminds me of the movie Runaway Bride by Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. Well, here's the thing about Runaway Bride. The fact of the matter is, white women know when to stop running. Melissa didn't know when to stop running. As the meme goes, why are you running? Why are you running? That is the question we have to ask Melissa Ford. Why are you running? Where are you running to? To your cats? To your wine? You know what, ladies and gentlemen? I've already told you about this. She is a cat lady, and she's into wine. That is what you need to invest in the next 10 to 15 to 25 years. Because when 2030 hits, and 50% of women are single, not being able to protect themselves, not being matriarchs of families, believe me, it's going to hit hard, that alone period. When the nurse has to come in and wipe your ass and nobody's there to make sure she's doing it right. Let's continue.
Attention just snowballed, and I started to see that I was able to, make a business out of it. If it didn't make money, it didn't make sense.
That is exactly right. If it didn't make money, it didn't make sense. If he didn't bring me dollars, it don't make sense. Why am I here? There's a word for that. But we'll get to that a little later. Let's continue.
Society places an enormous amount of pressure on us to check certain boxes. The box of go to.
I realized that it was less work for me to make money off my body and my looks than it would have been for me to actually have some integrity about it and do things according to my major and my education. Once I realized that dudes would trick off on me and I looked good enough for dudes to start tricking, man, look here, that was an easy lick and it was much less work than me trying to establish a career and, do the forensic science and da-da-da-da-da. Like, man, look, these dudes.
This girl was not doing any forensic science, believe me. She was doing some psychology courses just to pass the time till she can get into her whole face proper and be able to pay for it. Don't worry about that.
Tricking and I can get to a particular lifestyle without the work. Yeah. Man, forget all that trying to have integrity and be known as a brain. I'm finna be known as a booty at this point, and because they want to see it bounce and they want to see me roll, they want to do all this because I'm quote unquote fine. Oh, I'm fine. You tricking, you handing money out, boom, and that's how you get into hoeing. And they don't see it as hoeing. It's definitely hoeing. Anytime you're selling your sex or the image of your sex or the thought of your sex or the fantasy of your sex, that is a form of prostitution, even if you don't sleep with all them dudes. And she said out her mouth she was sleeping with them dudes. So it wasn't even just the fantasy of her on a cover or in a magazine or this or that. It was like, no, we can bust me on down. You can go ahead and bust me down.
Excellent point rated by Crimson Cure. Let me go back a clip for a second. I want you to see her eyes when she ends this.
Or the thought of your sex, or the fantasy of your sex. That is a form of prostitution, even if you don't sleep with all them dudes. And she said out her mouth she was sleeping with them dudes. So it wasn't even just the fantasy of her on a cover or in a magazine or this or that. It was like, no, we can bust me on down. You can go ahead and bust me down.
Oh, those eyes. Let me just, oh, God. I wish I can get back to those. Yes. Let's stay there. Ladies and gentlemen, she's absolutely correct. is a form of prostitution, ladies and gentlemen. And we'll get into this right after this break. Do come back for the second hour of my time with Crimson Cure and Melissa Ford being the cat lady with no regrets and her wine. Thank you very much for joining me on Talk Live on IG and YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment on the road to 1,000 subscribers. There we go. We're just getting back into this Instagram. And yes, indeed. We're just getting back to the Instagram. Oh, shoot. Let me get that here. Into the live. Back into the live. Yes, indeed. So, back into it. There we go. Thank you very much for joining me on Talk Live. It is the second hour with the Crimson Cure regarding the Melissa Ford Modern Woman Playbook, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me here on Talk Live on IG and YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We are in the second hour of the background with with Melissa Ford. Is a 40-year-old cat lady with no regrets. That is the video from which we are grabbing it from the Crimson Cure. Subscribe to the Crimson Cure, ladies and gentlemen, doing the wonderful things these YouTube streets and setting it straight for men and women alike. She is removing the bull, and we are getting to the meat, ladies and gentlemen. And the meat of the issue is this, that as I was saying last hour, Melissa Ford was engaging in a form of prostitution. It may not be prostitution as you know it, but she was selling the image of sex, the image of erotica, the image of sexuality for money. And that's exactly what she wanted. See, you can do that if you do not have a plan to go to the stage. You can use your beauty to your advantage. That's exactly what she did. That's exactly what she wanted to do. Because she knew, and I knew she knew it from a very young age, that she could use her beauty to her advantage. This is very much so. And in order to rise herself through the ranks of being a video vixen, she had to, do a little bouncing on a few, eggplants. And so she did. So she did to great, I don't know about great advantage, but she did it to her advantage. Yeah, she used it to her advantage. Men came to her door. She was able to walk into rooms and places that other men and most women would die to get into. But again, she was a solid 8 in her time. She was a video vixen in her time. She was well subscribed in her time. And men would, throw, when she had youth, beauty, and fertility, they would throw things at her. And she was indeed a trust fund millionaire, point blank. Lana BK offers here, in your opinion, how is that she's doing different from dating and the notion of the relationships can be transactional? In the sense that she's getting paid for her looks. And the difference between that is between that and dating is that dating is going toward a relationship. Dating is going toward marriage. Dating is going towards building a family. In this case, she's doing this for herself. This is self-aggrandizement. This is for no one else but herself. She wants to be known out there as a video vixen. She wanted to be known as being an on-air personality. And whatever it took for her to do it, she was going to do it. There are, as Crimson Cure will go on to say, there are strict rules for lionesses. They will not sell themselves for $1. She will not put herself. They will not put themselves out there in order to not to put their wares and their goodies out there, so she can take advantage of them, either sexually or otherwise. She wanted to be a hoe. It's just that it was a hoe in the sense of she was willing to, she didn't have to, necessarily, have sex in order to do it, but in a way she did, because in order for her to get to these certain places, she had to, do certain things. She may have an agent, she may have things, but you know, for certain prized roles, there are certain things that needed to be done, and that's exactly what Crimson Cure is saying here. Let's continue. But yes, indeed, that's the difference between relationships and these between dating and transactional relationships. Transactional relationships are simply put, transactional relationship is. Oh, let's go into this a little deeper then, as you say, because I may not have answered the question. Transactional relationships is a sense of my looks as a woman for your resources as a man. But in this case, the resources came from, you know, her being on camera, so it aids her. Because she wanted a career in entertainment, right? Not adult entertainment, but entertainment nonetheless. She wanted to be known as a video vixen, and from there, you know, do other things. Maybe become a TV personality, maybe become a talk show host, and there, you know, and so on and so forth. But there are certain hoops that she has to jump through in order to get to those things. But we won't go into those here. But she was willing to do certain things. So that's the difference between transactional relationships, and in this case, what Melissa Ford was doing is that whatever she was doing, that it was going towards her benefit. Transactional relationships is basically you're helping a man establish his legacy. What she was doing is she was establishing herself. So there's a man's legacy and her own stardom. So this was basically a very selfish pursuit. So I hope that answers your question. Let's continue.
The school and excel. You've got to pursue a career based on what you went to school for. And you've got to excel and become successful. And you have to have your 3-year, 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, 20-year plan, all while you're in your 20s. Get married, get the white picket fence, and have 2.3 kids. Never figured out the point situation when it came to the statistics, because like, what's a third of a kid? But I digress on that. The problem with the boxes is that we never check in with ourselves. It is never, ever, ever our first thought as to, well, what is it that I actually want? I am now, you know, welcoming into my circle a lot of women who checked all those boxes. And for all intents and purposes, a lot of the stuff really actually did not work out. Yes, they ended up with the children, but they ended up in sometimes a loveless, sometimes an abusive, and sometimes a marriage of convenience. Sometimes they didn't even get the marriage, they just got the kids, and they inherited a whole lot of struggle and strife. And it's not to say that their choices are better or worse than the choices that I made. These are just choices. But for us women, I feel like
they're just choices. They're not better or worse. They're just yes, they are better or worse. I'm so tired of I'm tired of hyena. You name block. That's it. Hyena explaining. I'm so tired of boneyard explaining. I'm tired of boneyard explaining. I'm so sick of that. These are just the choices. No, choices have consequences to them. And sometimes those consequences are good, and sometimes those consequences are bad. What is with this? That women can't make bad decisions, that these are just the decisions. Yeah, though they're horrible decisions. The stories that you telling, ma'am, you are not a good girl, not a good woman, not even a good person. No integrity. You run from the challenges of life into whatever feels safer or whatever feels easier to you. No challenges. And challenges are what make you a better person. It shows you what you're made of when life hands you something.
Very good point raised by Crimson Cure, and in that she's saying this. Melissa didn't want the challenges. She didn't want them at all. She didn't want to have to work to build a career, to build a name for herself, to establish relationships with the fair sex, to establish a family, to be a matriarch in that family. She didn't want all that. She wanted the quickest way to be a star. She wanted the quickest way to earn money. She did not want to work. That's why she left school, because she knew her looks would get her places. Because that is the choice women have that men don't. Men have to work in order to establish themselves. If they don't, they aren't afforded the successes in life, be it in relationships, be it with monetary gain, be it with power, be it with status. They don't get that. They have to work hard for it. That's why I say women are trust fund millionaires, because they you can take a woman like Melissa Ford, literally say, look, I have these 8, 9, 10 out of 10 looks. I can make this pay for myself. I can put myself in certain rooms and have certain careers that don't allow for a lot of work. And if I need to, I can sleep my way there. And so we have the modern woman whole face. But this is on a higher level because she has the looks in order to pay bills, establish a career, have some sort of status. So she didn't want the work that came from studying, building a career, being in relationships, starting a family. She didn't want that work. That was too much for her. So all this capping about being a clinical psychology major with an English minor, nonsense. That was too much work for her. She quit school, left Canada, went to the States because she knew her looks would pay off. Lo and behold, they did. That's why a woman can go out without a plan, because she knows that men can provide that plan for her. Men can't do that. They can't fly off without a plan. She don't want that work. She wanted other work. She don't want that work. Just saying. Let's continue.
When life comes at you, you figure out what you're made of at that point. Can I face these challenges? Can I go through these things and come out a better person? But a lot of y'all are not interested in being better people. Y'all are interested in getting whatever it is that y'all think y'all, quote unquote, deserve.
She didn't want to work. She didn't want to build character. She didn't want to go through strain and strife. That's for a man to do. I was blessed with certain beauty. I shouldn't have to work. This should be easy work. I should be able to get as many D's as I want and still not be considered a hoe. I should be able to obtain any largesse I want and still not have to work hard to get it. That is the secret of trust fund millionaires. They don't want responsibility. What happens when she had to be accountable for herself? She flew off to Canada to confess over the phone. You see, there's a pattern going on here. Accountability? What's that? That's not for me. Let somebody else do that. My job here is to shake my ass on camera and make a name for myself. That's my job. And if I have to sleep in order to do that, so be it. I am a modern woman. And I should be blessed with such choices and consequences.
But you don't deserve nothing that you ain't working for. He trying to justify it. Well, you know what I'm saying? These women didn't really get, and these women didn't really get this, and they didn't really get that. And they checked all the box. Check what box? What box they check? What box they check? Going to school? What does that mean? Y'all check every box but the good woman box. Y'all check every box but the righteous woman box. Did you ever think that you may need to check the boxes that God wants you to check?
Or your own box for any sort of fishy swap, as you say. If you know what I mean. Remember what I said about the hooker wash.
You ever think about that? What about the boxes that God wants you to check? Y'all so busy trying to check or not check a box that a man wants you to check. What about the box God wants you to check? Where them boxes at?
Don't tell a woman to check a man's box. That goes against the feminist playbook. That goes against the modern woman playbook. Flag on the play. Holding on the men's team, 10 yards, back to first down. Yeah. That's a penalty. You can't tell a woman to check a man's box. Not in this day and age. Not in the days of feminism and modern womanhood. Hell no. That's blasphemous. Giving a man's timetable? Check his box? Are you kidding me? She's liable to hit you over the head with that wine bottle, I'll tell you that. Oh, sorry about that. Let me see if there's any comments in the YouTube space. Hold on just a second. I have neglected it and sorry for doing that. No, we're good. We're continuing on. And why is my browser not up? There we go. My goodness. Hope that wasn't going on anyways. Well, thank you very much for joining me on Talk Live on IG and YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Let's get back into this. Yes, indeed.
Y'all so busy trying to worry about what a man want. A man will want you when you want God. Okay? You ever look to your Lord and say, Lord, what do you want me to do?
Modern womanhood doesn't allow for that. Crimson, you know that. God, who is that? I hope they believe it's a woman. First off. Secondly, you're not supposed to ask the woman God what you want. It's what you can get on this earth. That's what God promised you. That is, listen, remember, that is what they call, what's it now? Fantasizing, what's it now? Man, what's it that you, manifesting? There you go. Manifestation. That's when God enters in, because you gotta call it into being. You know what I mean? You gotta chant it into being that, all these things, should come through, manifestation. You know what I mean? Then God enters in and say, you know what? You call for it, so I'm gonna bring it to you. You call me then. I don't know if you call for me. Maybe you do call for me when when eggplants are around. But, not supposed to have that sort of relationship. But when you want a career, what you want, remember, you got to follow Sierra's prayer. Sierra's prayer is the key. Do look up Sierra's prayer, ladies and gentlemen. That is Manifestation 101. Okay? Just letting you know. All right. Let's continue with that. Remember, that's when God enters in full.
And he done laid out what kind of person you supposed to be. Not even just what kind of woman you supposed to be, but just what kind of human being you supposed to be. He done laid that out in the Bible. He done laid that out in the Quran. You done had thousands of years worth of teaching about how to be a good person, how to achieve righteousness, how to do, do good unto others and do good unto yourself. And
now, women aren't reading no Bible and Quran. Come on now. They gotta read Sierra's Prayer. They gotta read Cosmopolitan. They gotta read YouTube. They gotta they gotta read they gotta read their housewife daily. They got other things to read. They are not reading no Bible and Quran. They're not reading any scriptures. What is that? That is not part of the Modern Woman playbook. They have to read Hip Hop Wives the Hip Hop Wives newsletter. That's what they got to read. Holy book? What holy books are you talking about? Come on now, that is not part of the Modern Woman playbook. Let's go here. They gotta read Feminism 101. They have to read texts from Gloria Steinem and Cosmopolitan. That's what their reading materials are. And you could have it all at once or twice or maybe even 3 times. But that is the reading material of the modern woman. It ain't in the Bible or Quran. Come on, man. That's too much reading. That's 1,000 pages. Come on now. No woman has no time for that.
Do good with your family, and y'all don't want to check no box God got for you. Then you want to run around and figure out why you can't get nothing in life. You don't praise the one that's got it for you to get. You don't care about what he wants. All the stuff that you trying to get is in the treasures of Allah, but you don't go to Allah to get them because you're not interested in being good people. You're just interested in getting what you want. And so the shaitan give you what you think you want, and then you get a bitter fruit behind it. And you don't want the end result. Couldn't tell you nothing. Miss Melissa, when you was 20-something and bopping and thotting around, couldn't tell you nothing. Couldn't tell
She ain't lying there. I'm sorry, Crimson. Go ahead.
You one day that it wasn't gonna be like that. Couldn't tell you one day a man wasn't gonna want you. Couldn't tell you one day a man wasn't gonna love you. Truly love you. And see past your faults and your flaws. And love you anyway. Couldn't tell you nothing. No, you were so busy popping it, baby. You was here and there and everywhere, baby. You was in this video and on that magazine and heck, you was partying. What party on? We don't watch the party die. Shout out to K-Dot. We watched the party die. Now what? When the lights shine off and it's show time to settle down, my main concern. What happened when the cameras stop clicking? What happened when they don't want you in the magazine no more? You're aged out. What happened when the rappers think you washed up? What happens when you ain't getting the calls to come to the studio no more? Huh? What happened?
What indeed happens? What indeed happens? As Kendrick Lamar said, when the lights go out and the party's over. What happens? Well, you're left with your whining cats. Cat lady. As insulting as it may seem, you led yourself to this life. Remember, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. You ever heard that saying there, Melissa? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. You really thought you were going to knock it out the park and you're going to be the feminist icon that we all wanted to see. Well, I'll tell you who wants to see you. You're a disrespectful cat who needs his feeding. And if you don't do it, they're going to piss all over your goddamn house, scratch up your furniture, and now you're a slave to an animal that, quite simply, you thought you'd never be in a position to be a slave to. So good luck with that, being the cat lady, and remember to medicate with wine. That's important. Very important. Let's continue.
Our choices oftentimes have never really, really belonged to us. And when we have tried to exert our sense of independence, we are shamed for it.
Okay.
At this point, let me go on to the second engagement. So I'm 28 years old.
Here we go.
And I have left the previous relationship, the 0.5. And I have met this man who...
Stop here for a second. Before she gets into this, remember what I said about karma. Remember what I said. She has done 2 men wrong. One in Canada, one in the States. The one in the States was a part engagement. That was a 0.5 she's talking about. Because remember, black women only count engagements because they don't get married. They don't get married. That's the thing. They only count engagements. That is their, how should I say, their cope. Let's continue. This is karma in action. Remember what I said here. Let's continue.
The minute I saw him, I knew I was going to be...
I think I heard a cat in the distance. Let's continue.
...with him. He just...
She gonna tell you about her karma now.
Mm-hmm.
She don't think she telling you about her karma.
He just was it. I don't know how to describe it. And the second I heard his voice, I said, I'm gonna marry this man. I don't know what it was. Like, he had this Louisiana drawl. It's my favorite Southern accent. He was huge, like 6'1", 246 pounds of hulking muscle. He had skin.
Remember the rule of 6, people. Let's continue.
In the color of like red clay. He had this thick neck, big round head. He had this crooked tooth that drove me wild. His flaws were like...
Ain't nobody never put it on her like this man before or since. This is why she's recalling him the way that she's recalling him. Ain't nobody gave her no D the way he gave it to her. And that's and she wouldn't even say that other men didn't do a good job in bed, but that was the one she wanted. He was her karma, though. He was her karma. I'm going to let you hear the karma.
Mm-hmm.
She fell heads over heels for him. And sometimes it be like that. Sometimes it be like that. When you see a man and you like, yeah. I'll walk over hot coals barefooted. Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm going to be a fool for this one. I'm going to be stupid. Mm-hmm.
Manna from heaven for me. And I loved his dirty draws, and I could just sleep in his armpit right after he played a game of like pickup basketball. That is how much I loved this man. And our courtship was a whirlwind. He wined and dined me. He bought me lovely, lovely gifts. I'd wake up to those baby blue Tiffany boxes just laid on the pillow right next to me. We could go to my favorite store, and as long as I put on a little fashion show for him, everything I wanted I could get. But when
So chances are this is a baller. Chances are this is a baller. We don't know which baller this is, but chances are this is a baller. Let's continue.
Say that the gifts really mattered nothing to me. It was this man. He was the gift to me. That's just a fact. And we were 6 months into our relationship when the first sign of trouble appeared. I was in Denver for All-Star Weekend, and I was working for BET at the time. So I had a lot of responsibilities. I had to make a lot of appearances. I had to interview a lot of people, and a lot of those people were athletes. And he was back home. And I did not know that he was jealous. It didn't even cross my mind. And so when I got home after an event and I was perturbed by, an interaction with a strange man at a party that I had been at. He'd said something vile to me and it hurt my feelings. And all I wanted was to be comforted. And so I went back to my hotel room and I called my boyfriend and I just asked him to just tell me that he thought that I was beautiful and that he loved me. And he didn't do that. He just pressured me to tell him what happened. Why are you asking me to do this? And so I told him what happened, and he responded by saying, why would I want to date such a weak bitch that would be that offended by what some strange guy has to say to her? There's just no way that he just said that to me. I'm sorry, what? And he said, you heard me. And I said, I'm really confused right now. And he was like, I'm sure you are. I felt like I was talking to a stranger. There's no way that this was the person that I had just spent the last 6 months with, completely absorbed with, and in the throes of like love and ecstasy with. And I said, I'm glad that I'm finding out who you really actually are now rather than later. He said, yeah, I'm sure you are. Click. And hung up the phone on me. I cried myself to sleep that night.
Stop there. Ooh, what does that remind you of, my people? What does that remind you of in particular? Cast your mind back to the man in Canada that she left on a plane because she wanted her home base. Cast your mind to that gentleman in the States who confessed his love to her, was willing to make her his wife, and she ran back to Canada and in a telephone call wished to break things up. See, this is where karma comes in. You did two good men wrong, thinking that you had time, space, opportunity, and temerity to do as you please because you were the modern woman. However, karma has a way of getting back at you, and that is giving you everything you want, but with certain key flaws, such as being insulting, being condescending, being demeaning, being mentally and physically abusive. But yet, love bombing you at the end of the day. Now, again, I am not an advocate for physical or mental abuse. But let it be said, she exacted said abuse on those men that came before her. And now she has the opportunity to get everything she wants, but remember, karma has a way of exacting things that you have done in your life. And this was her karma. She would get the man of her dreams, however. Unfortunately, he was mentally and physically abusive to her, of which I am not an advocate, but she accrued that through her modern womanhood and transactional relationships. Let's continue.
And the next day, I had to cover a ladies' luncheon, the wives of the NBA.
When I say that was crazy work, changing the music up, that Tubi suspense music, that Tubi movie suspense music. Here's the thing. He said that to her. He said that to her. She remembered it word for word. She not lying. He said it.
Mm-hmm, he did.
He absolutely said it.
Yeah.
He definitely said that. He definitely said that. He said it. He said every syllable of that. She not lying on it. That's why I said that was her karma. That was her karma. That man that she experienced was her karma for doing the other dudes dirty. So you can't play with people. You can't play with people. God don't like, just like my grandparents used, God don't like ugly, and he ain't too fond of pretty if it don't do right.
Mm-hmm. Tell it.
God don't like ugly, and he ain't fond of pretty when it don't do right. And you was ugly with a man that loved you. You broke a heart that you didn't need to break. You was going around, you were doing what you wanted to do without a care about how it made him feel.
Mm-hmm.
All what go around come around.
But we're supposed to feel sorry for you and how that man treated you. No. There's always a story behind the story. This is not exacted on good people. Sometimes bad things happen to good people. No good deed goes unpunished. But that's exactly what happened to those two gentlemen that she left in her wake. That she wanted the whole phase with. She didn't get that point. You don't get that point in modern womanhood. She thinks that everything she does is justified and everything that's wrong to her needs retribution and recognition. No, this is karma built up. And those who watch this need to have a jaundiced eye as to what she did in her past. You have a comment here. I don't condone violence or abuse of any kind, but she's legit definition of mess around and find out. Absolutely. F around and find out. Let's go with there. Fuck around and find out. You want life your way, living on your terms, and you don't care who you desecrate, shame, and mentally abuse to do it. However, God has a way of just turning things around and say, you know what? We're going to give you exactly what you want, but it's not going to be in the package you like it in. That's karma. And to those ladies who think, oh, she didn't deserve that, she didn't deserve. No, she did. She did. She deserved a man just like that. Because life has a way of giving you what you give out. That's why there's a golden rule of treating others as you want to be treated. You didn't treat people right. You didn't treat the men in your life right. You didn't do right by them. So guess what? God has a way to just turn around and say, you know what? Let me give you this. See how you feel then.
What go around, come around. God said, bet, I got something for you. I'm going to put one in front of you that you can't get enough of. I'm going to put one in front of you that you will lick the ground he walk on. I'm going to put him in front of you, and he ain't going to do you right at all. He not going to do you right at all. He going to give you what you gave somebody else.
But remember, she believes she's a heroine here. She thinks she did nothing wrong. Such is the accountability of the modern woman. She thinks she did nothing wrong. That is what you learn from the feminist playbook. Do unto others, but don't take accountability for it. That's somebody else's problem, not yours. It's okay. She'll swear up and down she did nothing wrong in any said relationship. She needed to be free. She wanted her whole phase. She needed her age of self-exploration. Not knowing what she did to get there was not exactly virtuous.
And so I had to be perfect and pretty, and I had to act like the man of my dreams had not just told me to basically go F myself. And so while I was getting ready, a large bouquet of flowers was delivered. My makeup artist said, "Mel, you should read the card." And it said, "You are beautiful to me and I love you. And I'm sorry." And then his name. I burst into tears. It just flew out of my face. So basically, my whole beat face just melted. And I called him and I said, "I received your flowers." And he said, "I am so sorry." And I told him, "I'm going to forgive you because I love you. But you can't ever speak to me like that ever again." He's like, "I promise I won't." So whenever people want...
Stop there for a second. I just heard of a definition of what just happened there, what transpired there. You were showered with gifts to begin with. The lovemaking was excellent. This was the man of your dreams. Then he insults you. And you start crying yourself to sleep at night. Again, thinking that everything was innocent and you didn't deserve this. However, said man realized what he did, and he sent flowers to your door and said he was sorry and everything, and wished to have this woman, Melissa Ford, back in his life. There's a definition for that. It's called love bombing. Love bombing, meaning you do the utmost to get a woman back in your good books and then do whatever you will in return. Either lie, cheat, steal, insult, beat, abuse, mentally, physically. As long as you confess to said things and ask for their hand back in your life, all is forgiven. That is what you call love bombing. You know who's you know what that's a trait of? I'll tell you what that's a trait of. Narcissism. Narcissist personality disorder. Yes, indeed. Let's get there. There we go. And we're going to have the, here we go. The medical definition of narcissistic personality disorder. There we go. Yes. Here we are. I think this is the DSM-5 definition of narcissistic personality disorder. It includes having an unreasonable high sense of self-importance and requiring constant excessive admiration, of which Melissa has a part in, feel that they deserve privileges and special treatment, expect to be recognized as superior even without achievements. These are Melissa's traits she shared, and so that's why she has a symbiotic relationship with said gentleman. Make achievements and talents that seem bigger than they are. Indeed. Be preoccupied with fantasies of success, power, and brilliance. Believe they are superior to others. Can only spend time with or understood to be equal to special people. Again, another narcissistic trait that Melissa Ford shares. Expect favors and expect other people to do what they want without questioning them. Another narcissistic trait, yes, indeed, that Melissa Ford shares. Takes advantage of others to get what they want. Again, another Melissa Ford trait. Have an inability or unwillingness to recognize the needs and feelings of others. Remember that one. Be envious of others and believe others envy them. Behave in an arrogant way, brag a lot, and come across as conceited, and insist on having the best of everything, for instance, the best car or office. All these things explain Melissa Ford, but let's get into one specific thing that we've already recognized here. Have an inability or unwillingness to recognize the needs or feelings of others. That's what Melissa Ford just experienced right there when she was called a whore and was mentally abused. Because she met her match. She met her narcissistic match. But she'll never confess to being a narcissist. But she is. Because she, as a psychologist major, should know this. Well, she'll never confess to it. So that's what karma brings to light. Is the fact that they'll bring you people just like you, but worse. And you'll say, woe is me, why did I deserve this? No, it's because karma put you in this situation because you put others there. And that's all part of the modern woman playbook, right? Do unto others, then run. Do unto others, then, feed out there some type of bile so that others can see it and others can recognize it, and then you cannot be confessing to it. Neither has she taken realize this, in all of what she says, she has never taken responsibility for her actions. She thought she was young and dumb. She thought she should be afforded said advantages and benefits of life. As we say here in the narcissistic complex, look. Feel they deserve privileges or special treatment. She never had to work hard for things, so. But she still thinks she deserves them because she is Melissa Ford. Get what I'm meaning? Except she got a guy who has the said traits, but can do her dirty in return. Let's get back to said commentary, people. Very eye-opening indeed. She should know this as a clinical psychology major.
How do people end up in abusive relationships and why do you stay? The reasons are aplenty, but I will start by saying that is not the way that it begins. It begins with love bombing. It begins with flowers, candy, gifts, and the wonderful sex, and the cuddles and the pillow talk. And this is how it begins. And it can last.
But remember, she doesn't see herself as an abuser. She sees herself as an abusee. As narcissists will never see themselves as the abuser. She told on herself twice. But she said she was deserving of this behavior because she's a modern woman. Accountability is nonsense to her. But when she gets to the return, oh, woe is me. See my wounds. Look how this man abused me. I don't deserve this. I am innocent at all times. That's the problem with modern womanhood. They don't see the forest for the trees. They don't see what they've done in the past may haunt them in the future. But this is modern womanhood 101. And now she's alone with cat and wine. I'm investing.
For a lengthy amount of time before that person really shows up. The true version of themselves shows up. And by that point, you...
Remember, see how she's got in the corner here? National Domestic Violence Hotline. She was a domestic abuser herself. Mentally, but yes, she was a domestic abuser herself. But she'll never confess to that. She'll chalk it up to the game. She'll chalk it up to her young, dumb experiences. But she'll never confess to that. She'll never realize that she put these plans in motion herself. I do not agree with mental and physical abuse, but at the end of the day, as Lana BK said or else already, fuck around and find out.
Start to bargain with yourself. And they start to apologize. And their apologies are usually very, very sincere. Because at the end of the day, I truly believe that they believe their apologies are real. They just have an illness inside of them. And I would also venture to...
She's gonna continue this story. But I believe her story. Of course, there's details left out. She's not telling all the stuff that she was doing. She's not telling that stuff. We know that already. We know that already. So we're not going to be silly about it. But you can't. Karma something else.
Yep.
Karma something else.
And in this case, it's completely apt. It's completely deserved. Sorry to say. I don't believe in the abuse that she was afforded here, but she brought it on herself. To say that she's totally innocent in this, wrong. She brought it on herself. I'll say it. She brought it on herself, thinking her pretty privilege will get her out of everything. Sorry. That's why you're alone right now. But that was strike 2. Strike 1 was this. This little episode in your life.
She could not break away from that man. She could not break away from that man. She wanted that man. And to such an extent that she was willing to take whatever it was that he was going to give her.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it was. Didn't matter what it was. She was prepared to stay and deal with him. Because she was hoping against hope that he would be the guy that she thought he was or imagined in her mind and all of that kind of stuff. I'm telling you, God don't like ugly.
I'll fill the blame for you, Crimson Cure. She thought she could change him and claim victory over tyranny. That's what she thought. She thought she could change him. She'd be the one to change him. She'd be the one to civilize said man. Nah. See, the same sort of privilege that Melissa afforded, he was afforded, except he had to work hard for it. The only problem was he never forgot how he was treated before by other women when he was younger, when he was on the come up. And he saw fit to make sure that every other woman in his wake would feel his wrath, including Melissa. Sad but true.
Has something for you. He has something for you. Has something lined up for you. Since you want to act crazy. Since you want to be crazy. Since you want to do whatever, and you don't care who you step on when you do that. How many of them women that you talk to, you slept with their man? You understand? This is why I don't be having no sympathy for her or for the Cardi B's and stuff like that. I don't have no sympathy for Offset cheating on her. I don't have no sympathy for that. How many men she cheated with? How many women's husbands came to her and she didn't care as long as he was giving her the money and, you know what I'm saying, doing whatever, blah, 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 that she wanted to do.
How many people did she steal from and self-confess to stealing from? Now you're seeing it. Now you're seeing the karma where we're supposed to feel sorry for Cardi B. We're supposed to feel sorry for the likes of Melissa Ford. Nope. Don't feel sorry in the least. You know why? You brought this on yourself. You brought this on yourself. You told on yourself. Oh, I moved from Canada so I wanted to be free. Oh, I moved back to Canada so I could be free again. And rack up hundreds of thousands of wedding proposals. So I am a modern woman of high virtue and worth. God said, okay, I got something for you.
Yeah, she throw it at him, but you go back home. Not her problem, right? Wasn't her man. Let the wife deal with it. It wasn't her problem, right? And now when you get married and your husband, now it's somebody else. You didn't think nobody else would be who you used to be? Now your husband go somewhere and get it, and that woman say, it's not my problem. He ain't none of my man. Let him go back to Cardi or whatever. I got my money out of him. He gave me a couple of stacks, and you know what I'm saying? I threw it at him all night, and and I twerked and did whatever, and blase blam, and I got me a little bag, and I skedaddled on about it, and I don't care what he do after that. Right? That was you, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was you, right? At one time, that was you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So now somebody's supposed to cry?
Yep.
Say that the first signs of abuse are usually not physical. And by the time it gets to physicality, you start to reason that you were an active participant in it. You start to reason with yourself that you started the fight by angering him or saying something that was out of pocket.
Now remember, she is going to go back in her life story and give you good reason why she could take this abuse. But realize this: she dished out as much as she took. Not condoning any sort of emotional or physical abuse, but she gave a good amount of emotional abuse. I can guarantee you. And if you delve deeper, maybe there's a bit of physical abuse along the way. Just maybe. Remember, this is a cover-up now. Okay.
Or you reason with yourself that you are no shrinking violet. So it's not like you got hit and cowered in a corner. You fought back. These are the things that you reason and bargain with yourself that allow you to stay in this level of toxic relationship. And so, as much as I would love to say that that was the last time that he spoke to me in that way, and that was the last time that I received it, that would not be the truth. We were together.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming back for a little more time here into the third hour here on Talk Talk Live.
And a lot of you would probably
we'll be back in just a second here on IG. We're continuing on YouTube.
Why would you accept the marriage proposal of this man that was so abusive towards you and unfaithful towards you and really bad at it? Like, I found out everything all the time, and I don't really have an excuse for it.
He wasn't bad at cheating, Buki. He didn't care what you saw and what you knew. The part that she missing is that he saw her for what she was. She didn't see him until she was enraptured by him. But she was enraptured on first glance. He saw who she was. She had done met a match. Is what happened. He wasn't worried about getting quote unquote caught because you wasn't going nowhere. What was you finna do? Cry, argue, let him bust you down again. Right? Flip it around and make it your fault so you feel sorry. So, right?
Mm-hmm. Remember, narcissist met narcissist here. She met her match. Except this guy can double the physical and mental abuse. But you would sit there and take it because, again, you love the dirty drawers that he walked in. You wanted the basketball sweat that he would glisten on your head top. Another, Torontoism there. Just like. You wanted everything this man gave you because you thought you could turn him around to be the man you wanted him to be. But no. God saw fit that he would give you something that you wanted, but never would be complete. Never. Because of what you've done in the past. Do unto others lest as others would do unto you. Remember that. Throughout this whole night, remember that. This woman is not innocent. Believe me. She has her modern woman playbook. She wanted the whole phase. She's considered men stepping stones, she considered men stumbling blocks, not stepping stones. She would walk all over them, and then when she finally got the man she wanted, all that karma came back to her. Do not feel sorry for Melissa Ford at all. She brought this on herself.
It wasn't that he was bad at cheating. It was that he didn't care about that with you. The proposal was a shut up. Shut up. Because I'll lock your little stupid self down. You good and goofy. You would take anything I do.
Absolute truth.
Still ain't figured that out. How many years ago that's been?
Yep.
We don't know. Still ain't figured it out. Buki, he won't worry about you.
Other than I was addicted to him. I was working at BET at the time when we were dating. And more than once, observations were made about bruises on my body and how skinny I was getting, obviously from the stress. And people had voiced concern for me, but I just shooed them away. We tussle. It's fine. No problem. But there really was a reason for concern. I stayed through it all and accepted the marriage proposal. The final straw for me was his reaction to finding out that my mom was ill. I had gotten a phone call while I was out with him and his family, and he was acting up as per usual. And I got a phone call from my aunt telling me that my mom had been rushed to the hospital. I was in Texas. So in order for me to rush home to see my mom, I would have to leave Texas, go home to New York, pick up my passport, and then go to Canada. And when I told him what was going on, obviously I was looking for empathy and sympathy and compassion, and that was not what I got. It was on this day that I finally could see the forest for the trees. If I stayed in this relationship, in 10 years, I would have that white picket fence, and I would have the 2 kids, and I would be an abused woman, hiding her bruises and her broken bones and her scars from her family and her friends and society at large, because I was a forward-facing media personality / model. My mom's sickness was, strangely enough, a blessing in disguise. And that relationship came to an end. And that was the first full engagement. So 1.5. So that's where we are right now.
Any advice?
We're going to stop there, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to end it here. We're going to continue it tomorrow because there are a few other things to describe here. Thank you very much to Crimson Cure, doing wonderful things on YouTube streams. Like and subscribe to her. She is so very, very, very thorough in terms of her knowledge of womanly nature and what they really, what modern women really want out of life, and because she's a woman herself. So subscribe to Crimson Cure, doing wonderful things in YouTube streets. And let me get back to myself and just end this portion of the investigation. Let me go back to full camp. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make this perfectly clear. Melissa Ford is not an innocent in this whole debacle, in this whole proceeding of her life. She's an active participant. She is not an innocent, ladies and gentlemen. She left many a man in her wake. She left many a good man disappointed, saddened, upset at her choices in life because she wanted that modern womanhood. She wanted that freedom. She wanted that whole phase. She did not want that accountability. So she ran away from her prior misgivings. And we are at a stage now where she is alone with wine and cat. Take your pick as to what cat. But she still thinks she's her shit don't stink. She still thinks that life owes her something because she's Melissa Ford. And she's still thinking that she's still wanting your sympathy because she is she is Melissa Ford as well. However, as we learned tonight, karma has a way of catching up with you and giving you what you want, but not what you need. And exacting retribution for your bad behavior. And that is where we stand right now, ladies and gentlemen, in the Melissa Ford Modern Women Playbook. Tomorrow, we are going to get back down. We're going to go down to the real reason for said abuse. We're also going to see what happens to her modern womanhood and how it changes over time. Because she's not the young hot thing out there anymore. She's a bit older, a bit wiser. She's reached her early 30s, and she's made certain choices to which men have accorded her certain categorizations. And we'll find that out tomorrow night on Talk Talk Live. Thank you very much for joining me here on Talk Talk Live on IG and YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment on the road to 1,000 subscribers. And we'll be back tomorrow night to further expound on the Melissa Ford Modern Woman Playbook case. And thank you very much for joining me. I am going to have a little nibble and have an early night because I have a busy day tomorrow. Or I may go to the gym. I don't know. We'll see. But I thank you very much for joining me on Talk Talk Live. Be back for part 2 tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen. I do appreciate your attendance here tonight. And yes, it'll be uploaded live here on YouTube, IG. We are getting all of these all these Talk Talk Live minutes up and running on IG, YouTube, and the like. So look forward to that. And look forward to speaking to you very, very soon. So thank you very much for joining me on Talk Talk Live. Back with part 2 of the Melissa Ford's Modern Woman Playbook tomorrow night here on Talk Talk Live. And thank you very much for joining me, and look forward to seeing you then. And we're saying good night on YouTube, and good night from Toronto. And thank you very much for joining me on Talk Talk Live here on YouTube and IG. We just left IG, back here on YouTube. Back here tomorrow night of part 2 of Melissa Ford's Modern Women Playbook. We're gonna speak to consult with Crimson Cure again. But not only that, we still have MTR on the line. We will consult with him as well as a few more surprises coming along your way. So do look out for that tomorrow night on Talk Talk Live on IG and YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment on the road to 1,000 subscribers. And we're going to